It's Pipes Drums, and it is July 18th, 2025, and we are absolutely delighted to have Dr. William Donaldson, Willie Donaldson, with us today. Willie is, of course, familiar to many people, to most Pipes Drums readers, hopefully all of you, for the Settune Series, which we started in 2001 together, a series of Pibroch notation, archival manuscripts that Willie painstakingly has put together, amounting to more than 150 different compositions. So Willie, thank you very much for taking the time. We've got some good news today.
Indeed, I've just learned that the standalone site, Pibroch, the Classic Scores, has now gone live. And we've thought for a while that it'd be a good idea to do a re-edit of the old set tunes and fill in some of the gaps and such. And we've created a separate site, and there it is. It's now available for view, entirely free and gratis.
Yeah, it's very impressive. It just went live today, and it's kind of, you can call it a bit of a mirror image of what we've done on Pipes Drums over the years, but updated, as you said, a little bit, and plentiful in numbers. Good to have two sources. But why don't we go back to 2001 when you approached me about the idea of the Settune Series, and why did you think it was important to start it?
Well, because as a pupil of the Bobs of Balmoral, Bob Brown and Bob Nicol, principally Bob Nicol, although I used to sit in on lessons of my chums with Bob Brown quite often, I was aware of the different routes through the tunes that you didn't see in the Pibroch Society's printed version, that they would speak of, that so-and-so, perhaps you come to the end of a line, maybe classic example would be the Laments for Donaldson. Right at the end of the ground, the book says, "Heal yo, but the Bob said that Johnny MacDonald of Inverness, their great teacher, put a little cadence, dropped a little cadence in there so that you were echoing that first one. Heal yo, heal yo, the wee. That is very attractive. And Bob would smile and well, talking of this and say, but of course you can't play that, he said, because in us, these were his exact words, it's nae in the bookie. Now, what did he mean by that? Well, the simple truth that if you enter the great public competitions in Scotland, you're playing to win. And there's a certain way of doing it. There's also a certain road to failure, which is to depart from the literal values of the printed scores issued in their own competitions fought by the Pibroch Society these many years, which has resulted, as many of us know, in a sort of sterile monoculture. Everybody plays exactly the same way. And so the Settune Series back in 2021 was a chance to use this dramatic new medium, the unfolding internet. Broadband had just begun to unfold both sides of the Atlantic. This looked like the moment. And it gave, of course, unlimited space. And this Wheat Pipers had never had. It's a big form, Pibroch, a big 32-bar tune, but it took a lot of writing down. There's so many variations, so much ornamentation, so that if you were to take any other route than the one they did, which was to produce a composite score, a single score, from a number of different sources, they claimed, but we were to find out that might not have been quite what was the case. But that was later. Then you were facing horrible problems of scale, size, bulk, and expense if you try to print more than one score. So they squashed everything into a single score, and the squashing down into that score was entirely in the hands of the editor. And some did it, like David Glenn, brilliantly well. Some did it with radical, blazing innovation and ingenuity, like General Donaldson with his radical new abbreviated system, which has never really got on to this day, more's the pity. It's worth learning. And the editors at various of the Pibroch Society editions, but mainly Archibald Campbell, who edited everything through from about the first volume of the second series that began in 1925, who eventually rose to 16 volumes altogether, the big Pibroch Society collection. He edited the first 10, and his son and successors followed his house style. And it was very much a house style because it did not follow the sources like it said it did. It was a classic piece of bad editing. But again, maybe that's a thing, and that's maybe a different question. So at the moment, we're looking at an attempt to show something of the variety that the old sources showed you, different ways of doing things that you could choose that reflect your own, if you like, judgment and aesthetic input. And this, of course, is a complete no-no in the competition system as it then was. Because if you're going to play anything but what was in the Pibroch Society, you might as well not take your pipes out of the box.
So at that time, it was the first, outside of going to the National Library of Scotland and their pipe music archive and painstakingly researching manuscripts, it was the first time where these manuscripts were publicly available to anybody. And over the years, as the internet took hold and the popularity of the platform, it's a standard now, rather than the printed work. So
it's the obvious way to do it, Andrew. It's as big. The internet is as big a revolution as the invention of print, as the invention of type, movable type. And at Caxton, it's bigger because suddenly expense is not really a problem. And scale, we can handle it. So we can produce not just a single score cobbled together badly, as I have argued often, by the editor of the Pibroch Society, Archibald Campbell, and misleadingly too. It's a dishonest piece of editing, Andrew. It makes all kinds of claims, as we have often said, that do not stand up to examination. He basically rewrote the grounds of the tunes he published, trying to edit the obvious musicality, obvious melodic appeal out of them, because he thought that Pibroch shouldn't be musical in any ordinary, understandable, commonplace kind of way.
Yeah, and as you said, maybe that's a conversation for a different time. But just want to come back to the website. That's launched. What does it offer?
It uses or tries to use the whole power of this radical new medium. Not only can you get more than one score printed or manuscript, but you can get all sorts of other stuff as well. I mean, one of the frustrations of dealing with even an annotated eye with a whole pile of notes and things, older printed scores, is that there was never enough space to show all the possible significant variations and variants, so that you could never really reconstruct an alternative setting with any confidence that it was going to be right, because pressure of space. That pressure is removed. So now you can have every significant setting either wholly or in part of any tune, manuscript and early printed. It's all out of copyright and it may all be used freely. Secondly, we no longer have to cram our notes and explanations and commentaries and things onto a cramped opposite page. We can have as much space as we like. so that you get analytical and structural and stylistic notes in a far fuller way, much fuller than you could in the old print medium. And those days have gone, and as time really, the printing world moved on. 3, what should it sound like? So at that point, I decided to include audio files in the Settune series. That would be from about 2007, so that I wasn't saying that they were authoritative. I'm just a player. Your opinion is as good as mine. But that's the evidence, that's the score. And this is what I think it probably sounded like. Feel free to differ. You take your own route through it. And I was painfully aware, Andrew, that as Bob Nichol used to say often when he was recording a tune for us, because he was a great believer in the new technology in those days, represented by the cassette recorder, little portable tape recorders. God, they're a great idea. I wish they'd been on the go in Johnny MacDonald's time. He used to say, well, he said, I'll give you the tune as I would take it, but I'm nae Caruso, you can.
Very good.
I'm not Caruso
so
either, but I do my best.
Looking back on the last the 2+ decades, 25 years of the Settunes, what impact do you think your work has had on the Highland piping in general?
I would say, Andrew, twofold. It is, of course, very difficult to quantify. My general impression is that people are playing faster than they used. The old, really funereal tempi are largely a thing of the past in Pibroch. People, it seems to me, again, I'm just one pair of ears, but it seems to me that people are playing more fluently, a little more fluently and more idiomatically than they used. So that from a playing point of view, I think there has been a slight sea change, not as much as obviously as I would wish, but I'm just an individual. And as long as the present competition system prevails with its prescribed scores, and those scores are those mangled by Archibald Campbell, then what we're going to end up with is musical nonsense. You know, a lot of damage has been done, and this whole enterprise has been focused on the notion that there's a real musically coherent tradition out there that was impossible for inquiring folk like me and you back in the last third of the 20th century to get our hands on. Well, no, it isn't impossible. Lots of sites have got all the old manuscripts and things. And of course, this has its own kind of inhibition built into it, because who's got to sit down and wade through, say, Donald MacDonald and manuscript end to end? You could, in a number of sites. But the Settune series was an attempt to gather together, tune by tune, all the relevant stuff, or what might be said about it, with a sound recording to let you hear. And we know that most pipers learn orally. That's what they learn, most of them. They're not great fans for print.
But
pipers.
It also seems, one change perhaps, tell me if you agree, the prevalence of modern, new compositions are being accepted. When you look back 20 years ago and there just were none.
Absolutely.
And I'm not talking about Donald MacLeod. I'm talking about or John McClellan. I'm thinking more like Bruce Gandy. Who might have written something last year. Would you hear it all the way into amateur, all the way to professional competitions now?
Well, this is all to the good, and is part of a distinct, I think, slackening up of the iron prescription that used to dominate and distort so much, I think, this wonderful, noble, lofty old music. So this is all to the good.
Well, just want to wind things down, but congratulations on the new site. Looking forward to more things from Willie Donaldson. You've always got something on the go. What might we be looking forward to in addition to the new site?
The obvious thing now is, by my count, there are, I think, on the new site 175 tunes. I thought, well, okay. I thought at the beginning that there might be 200 altogether in the tradition that had enough different sources to justify an approach like this. And if you only got one source, well, what do you do with it? This is the problem that arises with the Campbell Canceller. And of course, there may be 2 or 3 different opinions on how the Campbell Canceller might be read. However, there's a lost the thread, Andrew. Let's see. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, when I totted them up, I thought, well, wait a minute. So far, so good. I think I'm very nearly done. But we've been guided throughout by what has been set in that year. And as you know, I think within the last 2 or 3 seasons, we have pretty much covered everything that has been set during this last quarter century. And therefore, we have the most, if not all, of the modern competition repertory. So what remains? I'd like to get closure. So I drew up a list of maybe at most a dozen, you believe me, at most a dozen tunes, famous, well-known tunes, that hadn't yet been set, or maybe because they were short, would not be set, but that no kind of comprehensive, edition tunes could really do without. So I am currently about to prepare this final selection, and it will appear first and only in pipesanddrams.com, starting whenever I can get them done. And there they will be available exclusively for the next season.
Good stuff. Well, we'll look forward to those greatly, and wish we had more time to talk, but excited about the new site, and it's great to connect with you, and wish you all the best with it. And just wanted to thank you for all the work that you've done over the last a long time. Your contribution to piping has been profound.
Andrew, without you, Upset Tunes wasn't going to exist.
Well,
nobody else could have carried it, and I suspect nobody else would have. So, bravo.
Well, thank you. But full credit to those who contribute, I assure you. So, Willie, appreciate it once again. We'll be in touch, and that is Dr. Willie Donaldson, author of the Settune Series, and a lot more in the piping library that everybody should be building. So we'll look forward to more from Willie Donaldson in the future. Stay tuned for more from Pipes Drums, coming soon.